her guest speech at this moment. Over to you, Lisa.
Thank you very much, Andrew. And I will just go ahead and share my screen, and you can just let me know when you are seeing it.
Yes, you're up.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you, Andrew. Thanks, Dr. McBean, and everyone, and welcome. It's a real pleasure to go through this presentation, and I only have 10 minutes, so I'm going to go pretty fast. I wanted to just take you through some of the things. I'm so proud of being a University of the West Indies graduate and from 2 campuses, which makes me have an even more diverse experience to be on the board. And I'm going to say 1 or 2 things as we go through this presentation to help you to see why, I am investing as much as I can to make sure the brand of UWI and the accreditation and all the strategic things that the MSBM does continues to hold value. Why? Because I have 2 degrees, and we're going to make sure that it continues to be recognized globally. So I will just fast go forward. I know the theme was to create our own student experience and to enhance it. And I would say to you that all of the presentations so far, including about the Western Jamaican campus, was so interesting. I realized that if I had something like that, I would have even started on a stronger footing with my university experience. So one of the things I decided was that rather than tell you what to do, there's so many options online that you can read about. You can create your own strategy, come up with your top 10 list of things that you want to have and ensure that you can actually, lead your own experience. And before I say anything on that, I just want to set some context. So my company, and if you read up about my background, you'll see I started off in engineering. I even went to school with Dr. McBean. I started actually at UWI Mono, realized that I wanted to do something different, transferred and became an engineering graduate. When I went into business, I did consulting, manufacturing, telecommunications, banking, fast-moving consumer goods. All of those things kind of led me into human resources. So I'm a human resources consultant, and I'm also an executive coach, and I've never stopped learning. But one of the things I always speak about when I speak with leaders is that all roads lead to leadership. And if you do not know the term VUCA, that it's a VUCA world, in 2021, it's a VUCA plus world. VUCA is actually an acronym that started with the US Army. And it's really started in 1988, which I know this is going to make me look ancient, which means Dr. McBean is ancient too. I would have graduated in 1987. So VUCA, the term, started in 1988 from the US Army, all in the height of the Cold War. And it's really about the world and the environment that they took from the US Army into what was in business. It stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So business leaders are now realizing, even with COVID, we're in a VUCA plus world. So coming out of UWI and MSBM, it's really important for us to realize that the world has changed. So even a presentation that we did last year on what we'll be talking about, we have to think differently. The complexity of the world is different. And therefore, having what some people say is a AAA strategy, and please take some notes while you're seeing these presentations. It's all about things like coming out with behaviors like being anti-fragile, anticipatory, and agile. So some things are popping up as the skills that we need on top of our degrees. So think about the VUCA Plus world, read it up. It's exciting in terms of what it has to offer. Now, I'd say that navigating UWI is like really navigating, and a new hire in a new company. So if you join a new company today as a recruiter, because remember I said I'm in human resources, so I do executive search and selection. I only do senior leadership roles in organizations. So a client will come to me and say, I need to find a chief financial officer. Those are the kind of roles I do. So I anticipate that years down the line, not too long, I'm going to be recruiting persons on this call. So I would say that for you to really shine in an interview with somebody like me, I need to see that when you even went to UE, you were actually navigating it in a way that said you were actually in charge of your future and you were driven. So I would say some of the things you may want to look on is, first of all, embrace all the new systems. With everything online, and with what Dr. Spencer spoke about, the SaaS system, understand it, use it. You know, navigating that system should be second nature to you. Understand and learn about the offices and the key people. Know where the aid is. You know, not every university student comes in with everything laid out. So know where to find the aid. Put a lot of attention on your well-being. Be aware that university campuses around the world have issues. So you have to be safe, not only COVID safe, but whether it's something like sexual harassment, that's a new act that's coming out in Jamaica. It applies to institutions as well. So, you know, it's really important for you to be unsafe on campus and off campus. So knowing your well-being. Another thing with well-being that people are looking on is that you have to navigate your mental health. This is something that's popping up on university campuses as well. And that's because we're seeing it in the workplace. Work from home has been a very depressing experience for some people. So really navigating your well-being and using the creative options and get-togethers, and you may be physically distanced, but you can be socially connected. So that's another thing. The mindset of being socially connected is really important. So manage your well-being. Connect and collaborate. It's really important. That's how you get teamwork that delivers great results on your projects. And collaboration leads to innovation. So these are, I'm going to speak a little bit more about that. Be autonomous. I have a colleague in my team. He's actually at Howard University. He's one of my consultants, and he's based in Washington, D.C. And he says that one of the things they look for students and upfront is to be autonomous. You own your future. So you have to be managing your credits. Nobody's going to manage them for you. So you have to be able to know where you want to go and make your decisions as an adult. And of course, stay current. So fast tracking into what I really want to talk to you about is that by the time you finish university, you know, you're going to be speaking to people like me. But I would say, look on the theme of this year. It's all about going into the future. The future in 2020 told us that 50 to 60% of job holders expected their jobs to change or require new skills in 5 years. That's by 2025. We have lost a year. So that's 4 years. Think about that number. It means that by the time you're graduating in 2024, even 2025, you're going to be actually landing yourself in a job environment, which might be very different from what it looks like today. Now, actually, I saw this statistic when I was in Mumbai last year. I went to a conference in India, and I was privileged enough to receive an award there in terms of my coaching. And I would say to you that it was stunning for me. But because I was in that side of the world in Asia, this was exactly what they were experiencing. There was no ifs or buts. People knew their jobs would change. And that was before COVID actually hit. So you may find that that number could be higher or faster. So I would then point you to this graph, this chart, which basically gives you a quick way to understand the skills that the future requires. Most of them start with C's. So, you know, you can take notes, you can take a picture of this slide. It's really, you know, up to you to develop these things as you go along. It's not just a curriculum that you sit in a classroom, but how you communicate. So communication, creativity, critical thinking, and I'll pause on this one. If you are doing case studies, I would say take them very seriously. I've actually done some lecturing at UA, and I just went straight to case studies, and I could differentiate students in my class who were actually focused or not, was able to actually come up with an opinion, how they, you know, digested information, how they were able to think on their feet, how they were curious, all the things I look for when I'm recruiting. So the case studies are critical to participate, as well as practical application. So if you get any sort of project that takes you out into industry to do a project, say, yes, I'll do it. Lead, take it really importantly, because that's the way you develop critical thinking. Coming out of the University of the West Indies without critical thinking as one of your strongest points might cause you to have difficulty to compete for a job in 2024-25. So I would say focus on that and use every opportunity you have. Being curious and being a coach is important. So, just strengthen your mentoring skills. Make sure that you ask a lot of questions so you are able to form your opinion. Focus on collaboration, inclusivity. In other words, embrace the diversity around you. Don't choose a group because there are people like you. It's hardly likely you'll learn a lot there. So focus on that. And then I just put a big group of things on the computer-based skills. So whether you're doing coding or anything more exciting than that, the point is, don't stereotype yourself that you won't be able to understand applications. Learn about applications. If you're in HR, go online and choose some free applications to understand what an HR information system works and looks like. Same thing in finance, any of the areas that you are. Just immerse yourself because there's a lot of available apps that are online. And of course, be an agile learner. Now, I'll leave this with you for you to research. So this is from the World Economic Forum. You can look on it online. And they basically gave us the top 10 skills for 2025. Now, these may even change a little bit because COVID has changed things. But I would encourage you to kind of go online and pull this list off and even take a picture. It's very, very, and as you can see, number 4, critical thinking, complex problem solving, active learning. These are things I've said. The reality is that it is going to be even more important to differentiate yourself. So as I put on my recruiter hat and I interview people all the time, bear in mind, it takes 15 seconds, not 15 minutes, not 5 minutes. It takes 15 seconds for recruiters like me to read a CV. You have got to stand out. It is important that when you even come out of university, you have to be putting things on your CV that cause me to even get attention on your CV. So it's important to stand out from day one. And because of that, I would say just take this little 30-second exercise. Consider if you're going to an organization, a university that's accredited internationally, it's really important for you to come out with your brand and to be able to have 3 words that describe it. So take a second and write down your 3 words for what your brand, your personal brand will be at UWI. Because if you sit in front of an interviewer, I may ask you that question, but I'll also probe. So it's not something you can make up. And I wanted to take the second to just introduce you to share a couple with you while you think about your own. One of the places that I went to, and I completely enjoyed my MBA, executive MBA at UWI. I went to the Richard Ivey School of Business and I did a 10-day course on the accelerated management talent. It was the opportunity where my company invested in me and I did that residential. And I actually always look back on Richard Ivey School of Business because it's kind of like Harvard, but not the Harvard. And I picked up some of the things that they actually said they described those graduates with. And these are absolute words that could be used for University of the West Indies students at MSBM. And these were some of the words. And I said, these are brands. So if you go into UWI and this is your brand, here are some of the ones that you could consider if you don't have your 3 words already. Always prepared, always on time, incredibly smart, personifies the values of the university. And we had those 5 values today: innovation, excellence, transparency, civic responsibility, and integrity. Takes initiative, great team player, produces results, unrivaled network. So imagine coming to a job and you have an unrivaled network because you were actually creating relationships while you were on campus. Involved, a great mentor, opens doors, pays it forward. So in other words, being involved in the community, taking the civic responsibility value to life. Interesting, has a sense of purpose, has a sense of community, selfless giver, stood out from the rest, very confident. And I would say that one is so important. Speaks well, That's also important. Exudes admirable executive presence. Imagine saying that about a graduate. Competent and excellent. So these are words that actually mirror things that come out from your values. So take some time, think about the values, choose your words. Now, I can't not say this. And actually, my colleague who is at Howard University, I said, what do you think they need to hear? And he says, listen, do not end that presentation without talking about your social media footprint. And I must say it so, because guess what? Every day we look on social media. So be aware that maybe you want to look back on your social media footprint from now. Maybe you want to start redirecting it and start looking on how you can be, more active on LinkedIn, get information, share opinions. Maybe the twerking video that you have, you want to kind of take that down. It's a number of things that you want to consider. But at the end of the day, it's really important to discuss your social media footprint from as early as your start of university and what you want it to be. Keep the outcome in mind. So this is as much as I kind of want to say today in terms of ending that it's really not an end. If you're focused on the future, you're an agile learner for life. And I'll give you my own experience there. For me, I would have started in, and I'll stop sharing here and just go on screen. For me, I would have, I don't know if you're seeing me if I'm pinned or what, but you should be able to see me here. Yes. So for me, I would have started in engineering. I had a great time doing my MBA and I had an exciting group. I took my responsibilities very seriously. I was the youngest in my executive MBA group. I learned a lot from the teams that I was on. So every assignment I took so seriously. So distinctions come for you when you actually embrace the idea that I'm going to come up with a distinction, which I did. So I completely enjoyed it. But one of the things is that you don't stop learning. So I'm now an executive coach. I completely enjoy coaching. And sometimes I may take on too much, but can I tell you, the world is changing. So my coaching is in energy leadership. It's all about energy. I also am doing a certification in breakthrough coaching. I've done breakthrough performance coaching before because nothing is in a straight line. You're going to meet huge objectives and targets and boulders and things that get in your way. So it's about freeing up your thinking. So I do breakthrough coaching. And now the one I'm doing is positive intelligence. And it's also about mental fitness. So in my ability to embrace diversity and learn from people, every Tuesday, in fact, I have to join a group right after this call. I'm on a group with somebody who is from New York City, New Delhi in India, and South Africa. And the four of us are on a mastermind group. So I just want to let you know that the thinking and learning does not stop. I completely encourage you in what you're about to embark on. Embrace the university experience. If it's not offered, ask for it. Make it, create it. And you have a fantastic faculty. I know them very well, and I hope to get down to the Western campus one day. But I think it's really important that you take this as an opportunity that is going to be very different. None of us would experience what you're experiencing, which is going into a university experiencing with COVID. I completely encourage you to go into it with an open mind and make the most of it. Congrats on getting in and enjoy. Thank you very much. Andrew, over to you.
Thank you very much, Lisa. I really, I look back at my life 2 decades ago and I wished someone would have come on and done this for me. I think that was fabulous. It gives a great sense. And what it says to me too is that the MSBM is doing what it should do. A lot of those critical skills that you are looking for are the things we have outlined in our strategy for the ideal graduate. So wonderful. Thank you.